Brand New Cherry Flavor is a horrifying neo-noir limited series that decided to debut back in August of last year. Many have surely fallen for the show's creepy and spooky atmosphere. Audiences also love the tense plotting, so they've decided to happily sink their teeth into the meaty revenge narrative of the show. You might be wondering what's going to happen to the show next, and whether it'll be getting an update with a season 2. You'll have to watch today's video to find out. First, we have a bit about the first season. But before we get to the main updates on season 2, let's talk a bit about the main plot of the show and what season 1 had in store for us. The first season was set back in the old 90s that we all adore. It had the whole 90s vibe perfected, and we would love to see it return in the second season as well. The show focuses in on a young director by the name of Lisa Nova, who is played by the marvelous actor Rosa Salazar, who decides it's best to pull up some stakes and move to Los Angeles in an attempt to make a name for herself in the big film industry by showcasing a short horror show that she directed and produced by the name of Lucy's Eye. While being the protagonist of the show, she earns the attention and praise of one director by the name of Lou Burke, who's played by the great Eric Lange. He's impressed by her short horror film and flatters her by planning to develop the film into what he considers a full-length movie. But he also has some other things on his mind and decides to lead her on by making some sexual advances and tries to use his leverage as a film director. But he's unfortunately unsuccessful as she rejects his advances and stays true to herself. Being a nasty and mean person, he decides to remove her from the project as revenge, and that puts her down. Lisa is devastated and she is desperate to enact revenge on the director, so she decides to approach a magician, Boro, who's played by Catherine Keener. Lisa and Boro start to curse Lou, but things get worse as Lisa is entirely consumed by her thirst for revenge, and there are some pretty bad side effects as new truths emerge in the mix of it all. Now, let's dive into details from an interview. Will the show get a second season, and will they get to see Rosa Salazar back in action once again? All the fans are desperately hoping for a renewal of the series, but you guys shouldn't worry, as good news seems to be around the corner. An interview was held with the creator of the series, Nick Antosca, by Screen Rant, where he came forward with some juicy information that'll keep you wanting more. He stated that despite the fact that the show was supposed to be a limited run show with just one season in store for everyone, it seems they'll have to change their plans because the hype for a second season is consuming them and doors will consequently remain open for a second season. The creator of the series decided to make it a constrained story, but during the development of the show, the producers and screenwriters of the show started to feel like there should be another season of the show, and they should enhance the storyline in a way that would take the character on a journey, so that there would be a second season in store for fans and for us as well. Although the writers took elements of Todd, the author of the novel on which the show is based on, to create a contained story, they're looking to enhance that experience further down the line by adding new additions to the plot. What we know so far about a second season. With the interview out of the way, let's dive a bit more into the show's possible future and reveal what else we know. The second season of Brand New Cherry Flavor is entirely theoretical at the moment, and it's pretty hard to tell if there would be a second season delivering a new batch of episodes. We can still cling on to hope. There haven't been any scripts written so far in regards to a second season of the show, and there's no director or production team involved. These matters will need a lot of time to be settled out, but if that finally happens, there could be hope for a second season. The production of a second season might happen in 2022, which means a second season of Brand New Cherry Flavor won't be coming out until September or fall of 2022 or late in 2023. To put things into perspective, we'll have to take a look at the development of the first season of the show. It was greenlit back in November of 2021, and it took around 2 solid years to write, cast for the actors, and film the show. That's without taking into account the time that went into post-production, and that all took around 2 years and led to the release of around 8 episodes. But that's not all. The pandemic and COVID-19 also affected the release of Brand New Cherry Flavor's schedule, along with the schedules of many other series. It's possible that a second installment of the show could happen sooner this time, since there's a possibility that lead time could be a bit shorter now that the pandemic is a bit under control and many other protocols in regards to the pandemic have been established. Who will cast in the second season? While the body count of Brand New Cherry Flavor's first season is very high, and many characters have died in the process, but the 4 principal characters of the show lived on, which are Lisa, Lou, Boro, and Mary Gray. They all survived till the end of the series, but that's not all, as there are many dangling plot lines and plot holes that have remained unsolved despite the conclusion of the series' final episode. Therefore, it's possible that a second season of the show might be produced and greenlit soon enough to wrap up all the remaining plot holes of the show and also create new plot lines and enhance the lore of the show with many new characters in the mix. Maybe we might see some characters return from the dead as well. Who knows? But there's still one question that needs to be answered, and that is whether any of the actors of the original series wish to continue the series and story or not. An interview was conducted by Collider with Keener and Salazar, and it seemed like they'd be willing to take another shot at the world's universe. They enjoyed the whole acting process and getting to learn about the characters. It was a wild and strange process filming the first season, and they would like to return to the set to film a second season for the show. Salazar admired the character and personality traits of Lisa and stated she would love to play her once again, and Keener stated that playing as Boro would be pretty fun and he enjoyed the overall process. Nothing is particularly set in stone for either of the actresses, but if another season of the show is developed, they'd have their hands on deck for the next season. What will season 2 look like? We all remember that at the end of the show, Lisa decides to reject the offer of making a full-length version of Lucy's eye and decides it's best to fly off to Brazil where she has her roots. The show states that Lisa's life is charmed and yet cursed at the same time, but really never opens up. There's a possibility that ancestral magic will be a major factor in the story for the second season, as we see her mother's spirit, which acts as a guiding force. We learn that Boro is also a spirit that's been jumping from body to body for over 900 years by a magical jaguar who decided to maul Boro and his wife to death, but Boro survived by jumping into a body to preserve his spirit. Lou had been blinded by Lisa by some brain-eating worms that Lisa planted into some fake drugs, which he snorted. It's possible that he might be returning as a villain in hopes of attempting to get revenge on Lisa. Boro tried to jump into Lisa's body, but instead went on to jump into Mary's body. Mary was mad at Lisa for an incident that involved Mary removing her eye and consuming it, so she'll definitely return as well in the form of Boro. All in all, these characters have a lot more to say, and we hope the network gives them a chance to do so. And that's all that we could dig up about the show. Are you looking forward to season 2 of the show? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn notifications on for future videos. And with that said, we bid you farewell. Goodbye and have a great time.